So here I am, the one and only, up close and personal. My name is Shamar Franklin Moore. Now, a lot of you may think you know me from TV shows and from interviews and from talk shows. Those are bits and pieces of me. I promise myself to always be truthful in anything I do. So you may get a sense of who I am, but what you get with ShamarMoore.com is you get the real me from me. My name is Shamar Franklin Moore. I was born April 20th, 1970 in Oakland, California, East Oakland, the hood. Okay? Tough place to be. Still is a tough place to be. 98th Avenue behind the Coliseum, where the Oakland A's play baseball and where the Oakland Raiders play football. I was born in the late 60s. It was a very trendy, but not widely accepted time for interracial relations. I'm half black, half white. My mother's white and my father's black. My mother's originally from Massachusetts. She was born in Roxbury, Massachusetts and raised in Brighton, Massachusetts. My mother was a teacher. She was highly educated. She had a master's in counseling, a teaching degree. And in Boston, when she came of age, she wanted to teach inner city black kids. And she wanted to give them the best opportunities possible. But the powers that be at the time wouldn't allow that. So she was bold. She was strong-minded. She thought outside the box. And she took a chance. She took a leap of faith. And she left the nest with some support and with a lot of lack of support. But she went west, and she found opportunity on the West Coast in the San Francisco Bay Area. My father, he's originally from Alabama. He and his family decided to move west for bigger and better opportunity. And they got to the west and they got to the hood, but it was still home. It still was a step up from where they were. My father in Oakland ran with the Black Panthers. He wasn't a Black Panther, but he had relationships and friendships with a lot of the guys. He knew Huey Newton, who started the Black Panthers. He knew a lot of the guys, and he had wonderful ideas. He had great ambition. His intentions were grand, but it was a tough time for him being not only black, but very, very black, and ridiculed for how black his skin was. I am a product of two very different worlds, my mother and my father, what they came up with, but two very like-minded individuals that wanted to promote change. It was very important to them that they brought this child into a world of love, into a world of peace. And even though I was a mix of very different cultures, different ethnicities, they wanted me to know that I was a product of two people that loved each other, that a bond of two separate worlds that were willing to share and come together and unite. So they took the first three letters off of each of their names. They took the SHE off of Sherrod, and they took the MAR off of Maryland, and they came up with me, Shamar. If you look my name up in a dictionary, it has no meaning. You look it up in Webster's, there's probably no Shamar in there. But through my life, I like to believe that my name means or is a product of harmony. So if I could give it a definition, I like thinking that Shamar means harmony. It means peace. So I was born in Oakland. I lived there only for 6 months because it was a very trendy time. It was a very turbulent time. Interracial relations was trendy. It was the late 60s. It was the hippie, free love era. People were trying to have their own voice and bark against the system. But it wasn't a very accepted time for that type of mentality. To kind of quiet the storm, my mother, through her education and her connections, was able to find work overseas. So at 6 months old, I left the country. And I lived overseas until I was 6.5 years old. My two mainstays, our two mainstays, were Denmark, which is a Danish-speaking country. I lived there for 3 years. Technically, my first language was Danish. I don't speak a word of it today. Actually, I know one word, and it's flutdej. Flutdej. Now, why I remember that, I don't know. Flutdej means move. I'm assuming that my mother was kicking my backside and trying to get me to do this and do that, and she was always saying, flutdej, flutdej, flutdej Shamar, flutdej Shamar. For whatever reason, I remember the name, I remember the word flutdej. My mother, to this day, 35 years later, 37 years later, she may not speak it fluently anymore, but she knows a great deal of Danish. She still keeps up with people back in Denmark. So I lived in Denmark, Danish-speaking country. I have pictures that I refer to of me walking around in Danish red clogs with the wood bottoms. And I have this big kind of blonde red straw afro. Crazy clothes. But that's what Mama put me in. After Denmark, my mother was able to get a job transfer, and she was able to make a little more money. And her whole agenda, her priority was to give me the best life that I could have. She didn't want to bring me back to the States too soon because of the turbulent racial tensions that were going on in the United States. So she wanted the best shot to keep us as a family safe. Now, my mother and father, they fell in love, but it was a fleeting love, and we weren't able to keep us together as a unit. My father had some unfinished business. He had to answer a calling. He had to pay some dues, so he went his way. And his way at the time was not helping our family situation. So my mother and father decided that they were going to separate, and they separated for good. And my father went his way.